I'm going to talk about today is trusting the universe and what we did for love. So it's not very scientific today. It's much more experiential. And there's a song in the Broadway show, Chorus Line, and it's written by Josh Corbin, and it's entitled, What You Did for Love. Now, if you've seen the show, you may remember it as Kiss Today Goodbye. And the song is sung by the chorus, those who weren't the stars of the show, but just the backdrop for the stars, as the show is closing, and they're discussing why they love show business, why they're going to go out now and do auditions to try and find another show. And here's the lyrics. Kiss today goodbye, the sweetness and the sorrow. Wish me luck, and the same to you, but I can't regret what I did for love. What I did for love. Then the lyric says, look, my eyes are dry. Well, maybe mine aren't. Look, my eyes are dry. The gift was ours to borrow. It's as if we always knew, and I won't forget what I did for love. What I did for love. Gone, love is never gone. As we travel on, love is what we will remember. So kiss today goodbye and point me toward tomorrow. We did what we had to do. We won't forget, can't regret what we did for love. What we did for love. And this morning at 3 a.m. during my talk with Helen, as I often do, I review what she has said to me previously in the journals I keep of our conversations. And this morning, she led me to the entry from 3 a.m. on Christmas Eve of 2013, where Helen reminded me of a scientific finding from the near-death experience. She said to me from the other side, and I will quote, so what is it you will do for love? What is the accomplishment which you will carry with you when you come to this side? When the being of light comes to ask you the same question, which those who met the light during their near-death experience all heard the light ask them. The question is, what have you done to show me that your life purpose has been complete? And then you can show the light what you did for love. Now we'll get back to that after I tell you a couple of anecdotes from our vacation. In retirement, Gail and I always hoped to travel as much as possible. But after losing 2 of our golden years to COVID travel restrictions, we're trying to make up for lost time. Indeed, since I last spoke in early July, we've cruised to the Western Mediterranean. But while we were there, one of our friends here in San Francisco died of the final stages of cancer. He was younger than Gail and I, and he did not get to enjoy those golden years. But while we were traveling, we learned a lesson about surrendering the ego and trusting the universe to provide. Actually, this surrendering and trusting is very similar to what we spiritualists do as evidential mediums. We let go. One of our stops in Barcelona, Catalonia, Spain, we had planned to see as much as possible this beautiful city, so we booked a bus tour called the Panoramic Bus Tour, Panoramic. But while the tour took us through the downtown, which is very much like Manhattan in New York City, it did not see the famous sights in Barcelona. Our tour guide carefully informed us that we were on the 4-hour tour, and that to see those sights that we missed, we needed to take the 6-hour tour. Unfortunately, for his marketing plan, our ship was only there for 1 day. The most frustrating part of the 4-hour tour was they had left us at the beach for a full hour before returning to the ship. Apparently, the idea was that we would buy lunch at one of those cheap beach cafes. Now, this was highly frustrating. We paid for a tour and got to see the city beach, which was run down as most of the world's city beaches are. To make up for this, we resolved to come back to Barcelona again and spend a week or two in that beautiful city. And that will be happening later. But what to do with this frustration that came upon us? The following day, we would be in Villefranche, and we had pre-booked and paid for a bus trip to Nice and Cannes, where they do the film festival. And the following morning, listening carefully to our hearts, we decided to bag the bus tour to Nice without a refund, and instead just go ashore and see where the universe led us, basically releasing our ego and our previous plans to God. Just let the universe lead us. So after the boat ride to the dock, we walked through the medieval underground Main Street, and I fell in the unlighted tunnel and injured my hand. And we could have called it a day and gone home, back to the ship. But I decided to ignore my bruise and continue on. The street led us to the train station. At the train station, we discovered it was only a 20-minute ride to Monte Carlo, Monaco. So we went to the ticket window to buy a ticket. But the snooty French clerk informed these ignorant Americans who don't bother to learn French that she did not take credit cards. And she offered us nothing more. Feeling entirely dejected, we stepped out onto the train platform. And there we found an angel, a very helpful young man who voluntarily showed us how to use our credit card in the ticket machine there. You think that the lady there would say the credit, you can get a ticket outside. No. Of course, the machine and its instructions were entirely in French. So he punched everything into the machine and handed us 2 round-trip tickets to Monte Carlo. Our total cost, $12. He smiled, and then he went on to help the next ignorant American who doesn't know French, as the ticket agent would have said. He went to help the next to get their tickets as well. We loved the train line to Monte Carlo, and we found a very pleasant sidewalk cafe, and we ordered some coffee and ice cream. And while I ate my ice cream, Gail used her phone and the cafe's free Wi-Fi to book a seminar in Dallas for October with Joseph Dispenza. Now, these seminars are very difficult to book, and Gail has tried to book these seminars before, but you have to fill out an extensive questionnaire before you can book, and the available space at the seminar usually sells out in the first 20 or 30 minutes. Yet, although it was noon in Monte Carlo, it was 4 a.m. in California, where the booking gets done. Miraculously, Gail got right in and booked the seminar and also her hotel. She was amazed and ecstatic. We then walked around the block, and amazingly, on the next street, we found a branch store for the Paris designer Marj, M-A-R-J, and Gail found a beautiful dance dress, something Gail had been researching for in department stores all over Europe. The salespeople were wonderfully helpful, even though they spoke only a little English. And Gail tried the beautiful yellow accented gown on and bought it to wear that evening in the ballroom back on the ship. Now, having had a wonderful day, we took the train back to Villefranche and took the boat back to the ship. Now, altogether, it was a miraculous day, complete with angels. We had scrapped our best laid plans and allowed the universe to lead us. And despite the setbacks of my bruised hand and the snooty ticket agent, the universe gave us one of the best days of our lives. Next morning was an at-sea day on the ship, and after our morning meditation, we discussed what we had just learned. In every frustration is a lesson and a seed of better things. Make plans, but don't hold rigidly to them. Instead, trust the universe, and miraculous things can happen. It's a simple fact. that your higher powers want to shower you with blessings, but you have to release the ego and be willing to lay aside your best laid plans and let the universe, your own higher powers, lead. And this is not easy for your ego. Your ego wants you to believe that it's real and everything else is not. The ego isn't real. It's just a personality you have while you're in the physical. But this path isn't as simple as Pollyanna might want it to be. Your resolve to trust the universe and persist in that trust beyond the stumbling blocks will be tested daily. For example, after a wonderful cruise, we got off in Brooklyn on the pier with 2,400 other passengers getting off the ship. There was a long line for taxis. Now, we've done this getting off of the Queen Mary many times before, and so we're patient. But we've always done it in the off season. So we debated whether to call Uber, as we've sometimes done in the past. And this was high tourist season. And I didn't see any Ubers making pickups over there in the Uber area, although there were anxious people waiting for them. On the other hand, there was an occasional taxi. So we decided to peacefully wait in the long taxi line with 40 people ahead of us and one taxi coming every 5 minutes. But 10 minutes later, the New York cruise terminal employee trying to resolve the lack of taxis said, quote, "Anyone going to JFK with not too much luggage?" I immediately volunteered that there were 2 of us with 4 suitcases, and he quickly motioned us forward. At the front of the line was a man who had waited his turn clear through the line, but was traveling alone and thoughtfully was willing to share his taxi. So we went to the front of the line and got in the next taxi to arrive and traveled together with him to JFK. And we had a fun visit with him, and he told us about his friend who died and the pre-death visitations they had in hospice. At the airport, we then waited 2 hours in the Alaska Airlines lounge and then boarded our plane at 5 p.m., hoping to be home in San Francisco at 8 p.m., West Coast time. But then the plane taxied around the airport for 3 hours, along with hundreds of other airplanes, ready to take off, all of them. Air traffic control was not allowing any planes to leave due to thunderstorms. Finally, they went back to the gate because there's a law that they can't keep you on the taxiway longer than 3 hours. We were allowed to get off the plane and go back to the terminal and get something to eat. Finally, they reboarded our flight at 10:30 p.m., hoping to get permission to fly. But after sitting at the gate for another hour, at 11:30, the crew was timed out. And this means they didn't have sufficient time left to complete their flight within the allotted 12-hour shift as required by the Federal Aviation Administration. The captain informed us that we would make the flight the following day with the same plane and the same crew, and we already had our seats. But it's now 11:30, and hundreds of flights have been canceled, meaning that many people are without booked seats. So the fact that we're still booked is a small blessing. Yet, all the hotel rooms in Brooklyn are now already taken. And after spending another half hour picking up our luggage, we took a taxi to the JFK Hilton, which I knew is next to 2 other hotels. When we arrived at the Hilton, it's now 12:30 a.m., and of course, the hotel was fully booked. Leaving Gail in the lobby with our luggage, I walked to both of the other hotels, and of course, they were fully booked as well. So here we are at 1:30 a.m. in Brooklyn without a hotel room, and our plane's not going to take off till tomorrow morning. But being a Hilton Honors Gold member, I went to the desk and said, "We'll be waiting in the TV lounge, and if you have a cancellation, we'll be happy to take it." Again, just scrap your best laid plans and let the universe provide. After an hour, trying to sleep on the couch and in an easy chair, along with 3 other couples who were also stranded, at 2:30 a.m., a wedding party came in and went to their pre-booked rooms. Miraculously, one of the wedding guests, all of whom had rooms held for them till really late because the whole party would be late, one of them hadn't shown up at the wedding. So this freed up a single room. And now at 3 a.m., the desk informed us that I had a room. We had a room. Again, this is an impossible situation being completely overcome for us by the universe. It's not a coincidence. It's about trusting and having faith. That same universe that gave you life in the first place will take care of you if you'll just relax and trust. We don't have to help the universe. It'll take care of us. We got our good 6 hours of sleep and we made it to the airport with our luggage, and our plane took off at 11:30, just a day late. Now, this JFK hotel situation was just a test to see if we could hold the same concept that we'd learned in Monaco. Now I want to get back to what we did for love. Now, last Friday, Gail decided instead of cut flowers to get her friend. When we got home, Gail was feeling bad for the widow of our friend who died. And while we were on travel, and she had not been here 2 weeks earlier when he made his transition, so Gail could not send flowers at the time of death. So now, last Friday, Gail decided instead of cut flowers, to get her friend a potted plant so she could remember it as the years went by. And then she had an even greater idea. Why not take the widow out to dinner? Now, actually, most people don't know what to do or say when someone dies. So they tend to leave the bereaved alone while they pursue their own busy schedule. And this often leaves the bereaved person isolated and deathly alone. When Gail texted the idea to the widow, she was delighted to go out to dinner. The two of them had a wonderful time toasting the departed with champagne. They even placed a third chair for the departed husband at the table. And Gail touched the heart of the widow and had a great time herself. So for her and the widow, the death is now behind them, and they can talk again and continue to live in joy. About the same time that Gail and the widow went to dinner, I was staying overnight on my sailboat, which I do weekly, to get the necessary maintenance done. Yet I consider the boat a gift from the universe. But that's another whole long story, which I'm not going to get into. But the boat is moored at Pier 39 Marina on the west side of Fisherman's Wharf, where there are hundreds of out-of-town tourists on the pier. So as dusk settled in, I headed up to the shower, and there was a 6-year-old and his father looking at the sailboats on the docks. The little guy said, "Dad, we should have gone in the gate when he came out." So I stopped and I said to the little tyke, "Only owners and guests are allowed on the docks. It's their private place, like your bedroom." And he understood, but he was disappointed. So I said, "Would you like to see my boat?" "Oh, yes," exclaimed the little guy. So I took him and his dad down for a tour of my boat. Now, the boat was a complete mess with tools out everywhere because I'm working on it. But the little guy was so excited, he didn't notice. He observed that his house had 2 bathrooms, just like my boat. And I showed him how to stand on the doorstep so he could see out the front of the pilot house. And he said to his dad, "Look, I'm steering." The dad took a photo of him in the boat. They were from Reno, Nevada, and the little kid had never seen a real boat. My return on investment for being an angel was a great memory of an overjoyed 6-year-old. It cost me about 10 minutes, and I went ahead to the shower. But being grateful for the gifts you have, you can also share the light that you have. So what was that Boy Scout motto? Do a good turn daily? Or could we rephrase that? Be an angel for somebody every day. That angel at the train station was helping us with our tickets and helping tourists, which the official hired help disdained and ignored. Getting back to Helen's conversation with me on Christmas Eve in 2013, I will quote her again. Daily, angel loved ones visit us, and we only know them when they're gone. Who was that angel on the train platform? The key to life is so simple, and most people can't see it, and so they pass it by. It's not about I, it's about all of us together. And what did I do for love? So remember these lyrics. Kiss today goodbye, the sweetness and the sorrow. Wish me luck and the same to you. But I can't regret what I did for love. And that's the end of it.